Okay, so you just lost your marketing job due to a layoff, or maybe your business is struggling, you just lost a big client, and you're just kind of going through a whole bunch of emotions around what's going on, what's happening. You're kind of getting a little bit panicked. Relax. I'm going to talk to you today about the things you need to do if you just got laid off from a marketing job, you just lost your marketing job, or perhaps your business is in a different place than you feel like it should be. All right, so the hard thing about losing a marketing job is that any job that you would lose is it's a hurtful experience. You know, you feel like you've been working hard, you're doing all the right things, you may have been just a workaholic in your job. And unfortunately, the adage of life isn't fair kind of kicks in, and you may have been let go. Uh, it stings. Like I said, it's a hurtful experience. And so I want to talk to you about the ways that you can kind of cope with that right now, because it's not as bad as it might feel like it is. And so we're going to talk about some things today that will help you sort of just work through that and be sure that you're really just constantly progressing and moving forward. So the first thing to do if you've lost your marketing job is you need to know that you have to protect your mindset. This is a time where it's very easy for panic to set in. It's very easy to get irrational. Depending on your typical mood, you may feel even more depressed, or you might feel a little depressed. That might be a little bit outside the norm of how you typically feel. But protecting your mindset is one of the biggest things you need to do when it comes to a situation like this. You're going to start worrying about a bunch of different things, and I just want you to know that if you keep your head in the right place, mindset-wise, it's going to help you progress that much faster. It's going to help you move along, and you're going to get back on your feet much faster than you would if you just sort of let everything cave in on you and kind of go to all the dark places that your brain wants to go to. Now, the second thing I want you to think about when it comes to losing your marketing job and what do you do next, acknowledge your feelings. The reality is that it just sucks. Like I've said, you could have been working really hard. You're a stellar employee, or you might have a business, and you just take care of your clients left and right. You overextend yourself, and yet here you are, you're out of work. I need you to just accept that for a little bit and just go with those feelings. Sometimes there are people out there that they have the best of intentions, but they'll say things to you like, well, at least you have this, or at least it's not that. And I don't like that, because I feel like it kind of dismisses or reduces the importance of what you're going through right now. The reality is that it sucks. It feels like a punch in the gut. And so accept that. Just go through those feelings, kind of go through that grief, but don't sit there forever. Again, have your moment and then move on. If you move on and just sort of knowing that you did have that feeling, you just sort of let yourself decompress and have those feelings, again, it will kind of move beyond, you'll move beyond that. Not to say that you might not revisit that every once in a while and start to kind of feel sorry for yourself again, but just take a little bit of time and let it be, and then start thinking on the future. Now, the third thing you need to think about if you've just been laid off from your marketing job, or perhaps your business is not doing well, is you need to avoid catastrophizing. Now, catastrophizing is kind of a behavioral health term, and the idea behind it is just that our brains are meant to be really creative in the way that we kind of paint pictures for ourselves. And so we create these movies, and sometimes when things are looking good, we create this movie where we're the hero. Or if things are going bad, we might create this story or this movie where we go off the cliff at the very end. Our brains are constantly working to create a bunch of different versions of what could be. But the reality is that none of it is real. None of it has happened yet. And so don't let yourself get sucked into that catastrophizing. You as a marketer, you're going to be probably even more susceptible to this, because you're naturally a very creative person. So just imagine the way that the wheels are turning in your brain, and the way that you're thinking of all of these different stories about how this is going to go. I'm going to lose my house, or I'm going to lose my car, or I'm not going to be able to take that vacation. There's all kinds of different things that your brain is probably trying to tell you right now and create this catastrophe for yourself. just try to avoid it. You have to find ways to kind of shift your mind and change it up. And one of those ways that can be helpful is just to change your position or change your location. If you're feeling really down, maybe go outside, take a walk, or get in the car and just go for a drive. Or if you live near a beach, just go over there, take a walk on the beach. Just get yourself away from the setting, because sometimes you just need that to kind of get that catastrophizing brain to shut off a little bit. Now, the fourth thing you want to make sure that you do, if you've been laid off from your marketing job, or again, maybe your business or agency isn't doing as well as it used to or should, is you need to celebrate the wins that you have. So, just like anything, we don't live in this linear 1, 2, 3. Everything just kind of happens in order. We have these ups and downs. Like our life is like watching the stock market. You just have that ticker that just keeps going up and down. And so within that, yes, there are some low times, there are some down times, and right now you might be feeling that downtime, but there are up times as well. And so what you need to start doing is kind of giving yourself permission to celebrate the things that you're doing really well, or the things that you've learned from this. And quite frankly, it may just be that being let go of that position, or maybe even your business struggling like it is, that may just be a way to shift you into something much bigger. And I would argue it's probably going to shift you into something much bigger. Usually, when we have something negative happen to us, how we respond is usually the outcome. And so something hits you like this, you get that punch in the gut because you lost your job, but now you're going to start doing things that actually get you to a much better place. So really, they may have done you a favor by letting you go. Now, it may not feel like that right now. Again, it might feel very hurtful, but the reality is that you're probably going to look back a year from now and be like, oh, what a relief. That was actually one of the best things that ever happened to me. Sometimes our bodies are telling us that. Our minds may not want to admit it, but our bodies are. You might have that sense of relief even right now, where the things, the stress, the hours you were working, all that pressure that you were feeling, it's just sort of starting to go. Now, you might be, again, that catastrophizing, you might be trying to pull something else in to create that tension back up, because it's almost like you feel like that's the norm that you operate at. But in the big picture, that a lot of this stuff might just be sort of rolling off of you right now. And that feels good. So celebrate wins that you do, different things that you're going to do over the next several days, weeks, months, as you're rebuilding whatever shape that you want your career to take. Perhaps if you were laid off from a marketing job, you want to actually start your own business. On the flip side, you might have that marketing business and you're just kind of burned out. You've been doing it for a long time. You're wearing a lot of hats as an entrepreneur. And you might say, you know what? I think I'm just ready to go back to work for somebody. We're all in different places at different times, and there's no wrong answer there. So just sort of celebrate the fact that you're winning from this, because you're going to do some things each day that are going to get you closer to where you want to be. Celebrate your wins. Now, the fifth thing I'm going to tell you to do if you've just lost your marketing job is to network strategically. It's very important in a time like this that you're out there meeting new people or trying to reconnect with old relationships that you may have had, old colleagues that you may have had. It's very important that you're doing that. But I'm going to caution you. I say network strategically, because you can go out there and meet a lot of people and it's a big waste of time. You want to make sure that you're actually networking with the right people. So take, for example, you may be part of an organization where you lost your job with several others. Now, in that, there might be a lot of negativity within that group. There might be a lot of hurt feelings and a lot of anger. And so I'm not saying that you don't want to stay connected to them, but if you find that as you're working towards the future, you're kind of turning off that catastrophizing, you're counting the wins, you're doing all those right things, you want to be sure that you're not bringing it right back in again, because of the fact that you're focused on hearing all these negative things that really kind of, they're saying the things you want to think. Your brain's like, oh yeah, I like this. I like all this negative talk. So be careful about that as far as like who you're hanging out with or how much time you might be spending with them. The other thing is also make sure the networking groups that you're going to are the right kind of groups that might lead you to what you're trying to get to. So if you're trying to get into another job again, another marketing job, make sure you're finding groups where you might meet people that have those types of connections. You know, you want to look at things where there are business leaders that are hanging out, because those are the people that might be looking to hire someone. You also, if you're looking at the idea of trying to start a business, again, you want to look at those business leaders and the right kind of business leaders. Because sometimes you could be meeting with business leaders that, I'm going to use a very basic example here. You could be running a marketing business that's focused on B2B, and you're networking with a bunch of people that are really all in the local services business. You know, maybe they're lawn care professionals or plumbers or whatever. So there's a difference there as far as whether or not you're actually networking with the right people in those situations. Now, again, a connection is a connection, but sometimes, again, you don't want to spin your wheels too much in the wrong pool if it's really not going to get you to where you want to be. So just be careful about where you network. Again, look at it strategically, and also realize that it's not always who you know, it's who you sort of know. You know, there's a lot of research out there about the fact that the people that are closest in your network are kind of tend to be the least helpful in times like this. They offer a lot of support and condolences by far, but sometimes it's the friend they have that you don't know, or you sort of kind of know them, that might actually be your ticket into the place where you want to be. So if you're networking amongst your peers or amongst a group of people that you may be familiar with or not, make sure you're asking for them to connect you with that other person that might be the right fit. They don't have to do anything. Just make the introduction, make the connection. And that will hopefully get you there a little bit sooner as well. Now, the final thing I'll say, I said I was going to do 5, but I will say one last thing. If you have lost your marketing job, or perhaps your marketing business is struggling, if you feel that you just cannot get over those negative feelings, if you're just feeling really depressed from it, if you're feeling like you can't get over that catastrophizing, seek help for that. There is absolutely zero shame or negative feelings, anything that you should have as far as a stigma around the idea of seeking any kind of mental health support. In reality, a lot of people travel and walk around with a lot of mental health symptoms, but they don't seek help for that. This is a big experience. It could be a very traumatic experience, and you could be going through a lot of things that my little 5 tips thing isn't going to be enough for you. So don't hesitate to ask for help or reach out for help. And I know, again, you're going to look at money and say, well, I can't afford to hire somebody to do that. I can't afford to go to a therapist or whatever it is. It could be one of the best investments you make on yourself, because what you spend right now might get your head through those things, and so that you can push forward, and then you're going to be making more money than you ever were. You're going to be in a much better place than you ever were. So do not hesitate to reach out to someone for help. All right, I hope that was helpful for you as far as my 5 tips, as well as my bonus tips for what to do if you've lost your marketing job. I hope this is helpful. I really appreciate you watching, and feel free to leave a comment if you've experienced something, or have a tip for someone else as to how they maybe you got through this, and maybe you can help them get through the experience that they're having right now. Thank you.